you ready for this?
Gonna be fun.
You will not stand in my way.
Frostborn. Hunger. This pleases me.
I do not fear you, mortal.
Your soul shall be mine.
Don't make me laugh.
Needs a brew? Oh, I do. Feel a shredding, baby. Let the battle begin.
So hello and welcome to the 34th episode of the Nexus Trolls, a podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. So I'm your host, Linus Daz Kilius. I'm joined today, as always, by Mystic. How's it going, Mystic?
Hello.
Liqiud. How's it going, Liqiud?
Good.
And we've got a special guest this week, Roz from Lords of the Exodar, who will be taking part in our tournament this weekend, which we're going to be talking about extensively. And he also is a member of the Lords of the Exodar Chair League team, and there's been a lot of news about Chair League as well this week. So we figured Roz would be a great guest to have this week. And he used to actually play on the Arthritic Abathurs, my Chair League team, a few seasons ago. I think you were officially one of our subs, but I mean, we rarely had all five of us together. So that's how I met Roz in the first place. So Roz, welcome to the show, bud.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Do you prefer going by Roz or Rozai? Or
Roz is fine.
Yeah, I've always called you Roz. You've never corrected me, so I figured this is probably a good time to ask you. I probably should have asked you before the show started, but hey, what can you do? So
No problem.
we've got not a ton of news this week. Other than the Mid Season Brawl, it was a pretty light news week. There was a little bit on Chair League there, but there was no patches, which was kind of surprising. We're so used to having patches almost every week. It's been a couple since we've really received one, if you don't count the PTR just going live with Malthael the other week. So, but before we start, as per always, I'm going to thank our patrons over at patreon.com/trollsgg. So this show is always going to be free, but if you're looking for a way to support us, head over to patreon.com/trollsgg and you can do so there. So Liqiud.
Yes.
Why don't we start talking about Chair League a little bit? I know you're on the rules committee. Do you want to tell us what's happened for those that might not have caught the flame on Reddit or the flame in the Discord channel on Chair League recently?
So, if you aren't in the Discord, stay away for now. Oh my God, I'm a moderator and I've been like, the salt is real, and I've been thinking about leaving. Like there have been times I've had to walk away. But more importantly, so the new dates have been announced. The new dates for Chair League Season 5 are going to be July 13th through September 14th. The interesting thing here is Super Jova for a while has been toying with this idea of, instead of doing one league and structuring it so that Mystic can only be on one team, or I can only be on one team, or any of us can only be on the one team for the entire length of the league or of the season, Instead, what he's done is he's created a league per day. So Tuesday is a league and Thursday is a league. Friday is a friendly freebie that anybody can sign up for and play in. But Tuesday and Thursday are the competitive leagues, and he will now be charging for those $24. It works out to like $4.80 per player or something like that. Excuse me. It's just to cover the costs of what he's doing, right? Like, he has a lot. He's got a lot of expenses if you look into server hosting and things like that, right? I know some people on Reddit and the Discord said, well, you can do this cheaper. Well, yeah, you can, but like, you don't know the number of hits he's getting per day. You don't, like, there's a lot of unknowns that he hasn't shared, which is fine. That's his prerogative. The reality is 24 doesn't seem expensive to me. So I'm fine with that. My biggest problem, and it's not a problem for me specifically, but by only giving people Tuesday, Thursday to choose from, there's no reschedule, right? If you're a Tuesday player, you're playing on Tuesday, and if you're a Thursday player, you're playing on Thursday. That doesn't preclude you from joining a team on both league nights, but it seems like the most salt and the most irritation comes from the fact that instead of having 5 days a week to pick your game night from, it's your either Tuesday or Thursday. Now, personally, that means I won't be playing. I'll just be casting Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I'm okay with that. That's a choice that I made. We talked about it at the end of last season, about me just going like a casual Monday and just getting together with some friends and playing Monday, and whatever happens, happens. But Yeah, so those are the changes in a nutshell. There's a whole lot of other changes. There's a rules changelog out there. The rules committee is still going over a couple of rules to kind of tighten them up a little bit. But the biggest kind of drama is over the $24 fee and the Tuesday, Thursday schedule now.
So, Roz, what do you and your team think about all this?
I mean, we've talked about it, and we don't really have a problem with it. It's not that much per person, and we're kind of in agreement that we want to support people who are doing a service for the community, and that's really what he's been doing this whole time. He's been doing it for free, and he might as well. He shouldn't go out of pocket to provide this service for us. So, I understand it. And if people choose to go on to something else, that's fine. That's, I think he expected that, but, I don't see anything wrong with paying a few bucks for a heck of a lot of fun every week. So
Neither do I personally. It almost seems like a lot of the community that are raising the stink about all this have that kind of entitled feeling. And I feel like the internet, it just is like that in general with so much free content out there that people don't realize that Super Jova, I mean, we've had him on the show. We've talked to him quite a bit. He takes a lot of time into Chair League, and like Liqiud said, he hasn't made a cent off of it. He's put money into it. I'm sure a lot more money than has kind of come out of it at this point. So there's nothing wrong with him, charging for a service, be it through like paid play or even like ads or whatever outlet he decides to go. At least that's my personal opinion. And you know what? People are saying, oh, the server costs don't cost that much. Like you should be charging less and everything. So what? Like he's entitled to make money off of something that's popular as well, and this is ultimately his decision. At least that's again my opinion on all of this. It kind of reminds me. I guess there's always been this drama going over hot slogs as well, too. Very similar, right? I guess they do have the premium model that you can pay for like upgrade features and such, but everyone's always been up in arms over the ads on hot slogs and how much of a drain on resources it is. That just kind of, this whole conversation reminds me of that, and everyone jumping on the creator of hot slogs as well.
So one of the interesting comments, I'm trying to find it so I can quote it correctly, but on Reddit was excuse me, sorry, the basically the 9 to 5 crowd we're fine with the change. It was the not 9 to 5 crowd that were like, this is ridiculous. Why would we, why are you doing this? This is not what I want you to do. Right. And so, and a lot of people jumped on that dude saying, no, you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. That TLDR is way wrong. But like, again, it's a gross generality, right? And I like to try and stay away from those as much as I can, because whenever you say this group is the problem, like you're getting into a weird spot where it's not like everybody in that group is not the problem. But I think if you were to like break down the majority of the people that are saltiest about this, you would see kind of that distinction. Not that they all fall into that camp, but that there's a higher number of non-9 to 5ers in the salty camp, and there's a higher number of 9 to 5ers in the this is cool, I'm going to keep playing camp, right?
Yeah. And to be honest, if half the teams end up signing up because of the paywall that is now being in place here, like that's perfectly fine. Everyone's gonna be a bit more committed to, even if they have to pay a buck or two, all of a sudden it's saying like, hey, I'm committed to this. The number of no-shows, that we had from season to season, I mean, it wasn't a ton, but there was a couple here and there, those are going to happen as much because people are going to be more invested in it.
Well, the other thing, go ahead, Rez.
Well, I was just going to say that, kind of to Liquid's point from earlier, is that because it's only on those 2 days, just from our team, we've got dads and, teachers, people who do this for fun and have like a rotating rolling schedule every week. And so the ability to reschedule if there's a conflict on that one day every week was really, really nice. And so that's kind of where, we're not quite sure what we're going to do next season, but we're obviously not upset about the pay.
Ironically, I'm on the other side of the fence from that argument too. I like that it's consistent because like being a dad as well, I've got my kids in like hockey or during the summer, like road hockey or whatever, swimming lessons. It's like, hey, I can book Tuesdays off and I don't have to worry about trying to like adjust scheduling because I don't know which day of the week my game's going to be on until like Friday night. So that's the other side of the argument, I guess, from someone like me.
And that's what I liked about it, honestly. I wanted it to be Monday because I wanted to play with some of my old raiding friends. they're still raiding on Tuesday nights. So Monday is a perfect night. That's like the last night that you ever raid in WoW is Monday night. So had Monday been released, I'd absolutely be on a team playing Mondays, and then I'd be casting the rest of the week, whether it's Tuesday, Thursday league games, Wednesday night doing these shows, right? Like that's there. The other thing I keep trying to remind people, and they keep ignoring, like he didn't make this decision without some reasoning behind it. And what I mean by that is, like, he has all this back end data, right? He knows every night, everybody that requested a reschedule, he knows what they requested. He knows what night the majority of the games were played on. He knows what night the majority of the games were requested to be moved to. He didn't just pick Tuesday, Thursday out of a hat. He picked Tuesday, Thursday because that was the night the games were mostly played. Part of the reason they were mostly played that night was people want to play Open Division. That's Monday night. People want to play Heroes Hype. That's Wednesday night, right? So there's a reason people went Tuesday, Thursday, and there's a reason Super Jova went Tuesday, Thursday, and it wasn't because he just Tuesday, you know, like like that's not how he came to this decision. And yeah, you know, the one complaint that I can actually agree with people on is he really hasn't been open about all this stuff. You know, he was open to the rules committee to a degree, but you know, there's no like, he almost needs a spokesperson to just sit there and like answer people and like a customer service kind of rep type thing, right?
This
And
kind
I
of
feel
stuff.
like he's kind of figuring this out as he goes.
Yeah.
Well, no,
And
he absolutely
there's nothing wrong
is,
with
right?
that. Yeah, and yeah, I noticed that last season was our first season in Chair League, and I remember y'all probably remember there was like a rule discrepancy, and there's nothing concrete in place, and you know, I felt bad for everybody involved because you know, we're all just trying to figure this out on the fly, and you know, so you know, people just got to understand that the buck stops with him, and it's unfortunate for him, but. Yeah, empathy.
And Super Jova's got a job outside of this too, right? Which is the other thing.
Exactly.
He can't spend, full time on this, and he spends, maybe he does spend full time hours on it, but it's outside of his full time job, and I'm sure he has a life outside of that as well too. So
I think he's given up his life outside of that, honestly.
So the fact that he's made so many sacrifices, I think, you can give someone a little bit of latitude. I mean, it's great that you have a bunch of volunteers helping out, like Liqiud on the rules committee and such too. And like Roz said, it's a learning process, right? Learning along the way. Is no one probably, he didn't have any experience in running a Heroes of the Storm league until this, and not many people do, right? So there's not many people to lean on. So he does have to fumble through it as he goes, and I think he's doing a pretty good job considering the circumstances and how popular it's become.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the only other thing I would throw out there is, like, if you look, I'm going to use Heroes Hype as an example, and I want to use Heroes Lounge as an example. Heroes Hype actually makes a decent amount. They don't make a ton, but they have backers and they have things. So there's, like, they recently tweeted out, this is our employee directory, if you will, right? There's like 25 people on that thing. Like, Super Jova's maybe got 1-2 guys like really full-time helping him, and here's another organization doing a Wednesday night tournament every week, and they have like 25, which kudos to them. That's awesome, right? Heroes Lounge, that guy was hanging out in Chair League Discord. He's got like 7 to 10 community members helping, but it's more a group effort, right? So there's more people, again, working on it together to build what Heroes Lounge is, which is basically Chair League for EU, into what it is. So I think he's doing great for basically a one-man show. I get some of the frustration, and I try to help wherever I can, but yeah, we'll see. We'll just have to see how it goes this season.
Mystic, are you putting a team in this season?
I'm kind of busy this summer, so unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to.
Can you sub for our team?
That is much more manageable. I mean,
I want to make sure I asked you before Roz asked you.
I mean, I have quite a bit of time, out here in the twisting nether where it's all dark and whatnot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the Mystic silhouette, if you're watching online, he's in a very poorly lit room, unfortunately, for the show. So before we move on, Roz, how did Lords of the Exodar start, and like what can you tell us a little bit more about Lords of the Exodar? Because essentially you guys are a cheerlead team / just a group of friends that post occasional gaming content on YouTube, correct?
Yeah, well, I mean, it started as a World of Warcraft guild back during the Burning Crusade, and just a bunch of guys who went to college and grew up together. We've got a pair of brothers, a couple pairs of brothers in the group, and just more and more people have joined over the years. I joined during Cataclysm and raided with them for a few years, and we took a break from World of Warcraft after Warlords of Draenor just drained our spirits, and picked up Heroes of the Storm, and we play every Thursday night, and record our games and post them up on YouTube, and cut them and as poorly edited as possible through Windows Movie Maker, and just have a good time every week. We're not here to be anything too serious, but at the same time, we try as hard as we can, and bust each other's balls over it, and try to make each other better.
Yeah, it's entertaining. I do subscribe to you guys on YouTube, so I get the notifications every time you put up a new video. I only subscribe to like 3 or 4 channels, I think, and you're definitely one of them. I think the other 2 are like kids shows for my kids. So like occasionally your guys' stuff pops up in my kids' feed too. So I think they're wondering what it is, but I mean it's always entertaining stuff.
We'll watch our mouths next time then.
Yeah, and it's not. You guys play some Overwatch too, right? And like the occasional
yeah.
Diablo as well. So.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, you guys create some community content along with a whole bunch of other people, like us included, the Nexus Trolls. And turns out we're having a tournament this weekend where all the participants are content creators for the community. If you've been listening to our show, you've probably heard us talk about this a couple of times. But now that we're getting closer to it, we've got a little bit more details for you. So like I said, all the participants are content creators for Heroes of the Storm. You can go over to creatorsofthestorm.com to check out more details on this tournament. The roster's all finalized. The schedule's all set. June the 24th, that's this Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The best place to start off is either you go to our website, creatorsofthestorm.com, or you can head over to Halloran's Twitch stream, just twitch.tv/Halloran, because he's the one who's going to be hosting and casting the event. So at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're playing, that's me, Liqiud, and Mystic, along with Bags and Guaz from the Weekly Blizz, are going to be playing the Gank Bush Squad, Fringe Average, Old Backpack, Bacon, and Tower Baron, along with Alebeard from Blizz Pro. We actually have a little wager on the line. We put it out to them last week, and they've accepted. So when they lose, we're gonna supply them with a script they're gonna have to read on the show about how awesome we are, how much they suck at Heroes of the Storm, which I can't wait to write that.
When they lose.
Yeah, when they lose.
So we're all clear. When they lose.
And if in the off chance that all 3 of us.
No.
DC.
When they lose.
Yeah. If we all DC and they somehow piece it together and get the victory in this best of 3 match that we're playing against the Gankbush squad, we're going to have to do the same. So they'll give us a script, and we also have to do the following show with no pants on. Now, that's a little icing. That's the spread right there. Right.
I don't know if that's the right word.
Yeah, I don't think that word is
Phrasing.
Yeah. So the guys over at Gankbush show, I was listening to their last show. They're like, we want the cameras pointing down. I was like, no, you don't. The cameras are staying where they are. You're gonna have to trust us that we're but it doesn't matter because we're not gonna do it anyways because we're gonna win. They're banking on their master level player who actually recently got up to Grandmaster like 42, I think. Is that right, Liqiud?
43.
Jesus. So Bacon, who's actually guest hosting on Trolling HGC after this show with Liqiud, is going to be on their team. So hopefully we can overcome Bacon's carry to make sure that we win that match.
I stand by. Mystic could achieve that if he ground like Bacon did this time around, right? Because if you think about it, and this is not to take anything away from Bacon. Bacon is actually a supremely good player. I happen to have a high opinion of Mystic, thinking he could do the same thing. But Bacon, as soon as the season reset, got in and started grinding and hit 43. I think Mystic could achieve something similar if he did the same. All right, season reset, boom, let's go. But Mystic tends to finish his placements and call it a day, so which is okay. It's all right.
Yeah, and I think that goes to a little bit of the fact that Hero League can be an awfully salty place, and it's a lot more fun to go in with a whole bunch of friends, and you can't duo queue anymore in Hero League. I've personally dropped off my participation in Hero League quite a bit ever since they took out the duo queuing portion to it. So after our match against the Gankbush squad, Roz and company from Lords of the Exodar, along with TBK Zord from Lords of the Storm and Ro from Realm Maintenance, two very popular shows. They're going to be facing off against the 5 hosts from Heroes Power Hour: DJ Tyrant, Balrog Fan, Zexorus, Artifice, and P Flame G. So that should be an interesting match as well. And then the winners will play for the finals. That'll be at about 8:30. Let's see, how am I doing math here? 7. Okay, so yeah, 8:30 p.m.
8:30.
And at 7:30 p.m. So before that, we're actually gonna be doing the constellation brackets. The losers of game 1, game 2 will be doing it as well. So these are all best of 3s. Again, Haloran's stream is streaming it and he's casting the event. But if you head over to creatorsofthestorm.com, we actually have multi-Twitch links up there now. So what you can do is if you click on those, you can actually watch multiple streams at the same time, and every team that's participating is streaming their end of it, including the audio. So you can listen to the chat or you can watch their side of it. So you can actually watch 3 simultaneous streams. You can pick the audio that you want. You can participate in the chat that you want. So it's a really cool experience that I think we got going. So go over to creatorsofthestorm.com and definitely try out the multi-Twitch links instead of just watching Haloran stream. I think it's going to be a really cool and really unique experience. So also we have multiple game types that we're going to be doing. Let's see if I can think of a couple offhand here. We've got Horde versus the Alliance. So basically we don't want every game just to be your standard kind of game. This isn't like a try-hard tournament. We want to make sure that it's kind of like a for fun tournament, and it really puts a highlight on the personalities involved, since there are a lot of creators here with great personalities and stuff too. So what we're doing is we're putting a light rule set on each game. So every game, Lauren's going to spin a wheel, come up with what the match is going to be like themed as, and then those games will have to like maintain themselves within the framework of that rule set. So I'm trying to stall for time while I'm looking for the document here where I have them all listed. But we've got, I think, about 10 game types. And here, I'll list them all here so you guys can get kind of excited for it. So we've got Horde versus the Alliance. So one team's going to have to only draft Horde characters. One team's only going to be able to draft Alliance characters. We've got the reverse draft where you get to draft for the other team. And now at the Mid Season Brawl All-Star game actually had this format too, and it was really popular. So that's kind of cool that we're throwing that in here as well. We're going to have an all supports game, an all warriors game, monsters versus humans, good versus evil. We're going to have an ARAM, which I like to call sexy Picards because of, the auto slug guy looks like Captain Picard with his shirt off and all buffed. So that's going to be ARAM, all random, all mid on Lost Cavern. We're going to do a StarCraft versus Diablo game. We're even going to get 2x speed games on Cursed Hollow in sandbox mode, which is going to be nuts. I have no idea how that's going to shake out. So we're going to have some interesting content stuff there too. So it'll be really fun for everyone to watch. We do also have a ton of promo codes that we got from, I want to give a little shout out to Lashes, the community manager from Blizzard, who hooked us up with those. So we've got a whole bunch of promo codes we're going to be giving out in Haloran stream as well for Genji, Diva, and Malthael. So it should be a cool event. I definitely suggest everyone come out and check it out. If you're a fan of this show or other shows, it'll be an awesome way to see us all interact too. So Roz, have you talked to your guys about this? Are they pretty excited for the event? I'm glad we can have you guys on board for Creators of the Storm.
Yeah, and Kyle, he and I've been talking. He's been like theory crafting all the all the different categories. He's like, okay, we can do this skin for this hero, and he's hyped. So he's gonna be bringing it on Saturday.
So we know who will be playing in the winners final then.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
Well, we can't fall behind. We gotta do maybe a little bit of practice here.
Our skin game needs to be on point. That's the most important thing.
The
Skinnergy.
It's very important. Yeah, and all those game types I mentioned too, we're promoting bending the rules if you can come up with creative arguments for why you needed those. And the one that I told everybody about, like the Diablo versus StarCraft, if you choose Butcherless Diablo, you could potentially count as a StarCraft character, for instance. Good versus evil, that's kind of all arguable too. I'm sure some characters are more considered neutral and you can decide who's good or bad. Things like that too. And even like Horde versus the Alliance, there's some neutral Warcraft characters which are open for business there as well. So we'll see how that shakes out, but I'm pretty psyched for it. I'm really excited that we got Haloran to cast it too. I can't believe Haloran's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, one of the best casters you've ever met. He did Heroes of the Dorm, whatever it was a couple months back as well. So Roz, we'll see you in the finals, bud.
Yep. I'm calling that now. Mystic's gonna carry us to glory.
Sure hope so. Okay, so that being said, we had some esports this week, didn't we, Liquid?
Little bit.
A little bit. I guess that means it's time for your esports corner, bud.
I
Hey, yo,
think
how
it
you
is.
doing? It's time for Liquid's eSports Corner. That's right. And you're gonna want to stick around for this.
All right, take away Liquid.
All right. So, before I jump into results, I feel like I've left something out the last couple of times we've talked, and that is both MasterLeague.net and RosterPocalypse.com both run kind of like fantasy league type things for Heroes of the Storm. So if you watch any HGC, you need to check both those sites out. MasterLeague.net has a challenge, and basically you that one's less like fantasy football and more like predict the games. So you get points based on picking the winners and getting the series correct. So check out MasterLeague.net, RosterPocalypse.com, straight up fantasy football. EU and NA leagues are both open. But the reason this is important, and I'm mentioning it now, the season starts Friday. So, you know, you don't have to start Friday, but you'll miss basically a week's worth of action if you don't get it done in time, right? So rosters lock on the 23rd at like noon or something right around there, right before the first EU game starts on Roster Apocalypse. And Master League, once the game starts, like, you can no longer pick winners and losers of the series. So go check both of those out. All right. Both fun things to do, though. Like, if you watch HGC as much as I do, like, it's totally worth it. Moving on. Phase 2 rules were released by Blizzard, and there's some really, really cool stuff in it. I just want to touch on a couple of things. Phase 2, of course, starts Friday, which threw us for a loop. We thought we were going to get a bye week between Mid Season Brawl and Phase 2. Nope, Blizzard's like, it's cool. We're just going to jump right into this, which is crazy. But whatever, we can work with that. Region movement has changed. So minor regions can now move to major regions without suffering the 6-month penalty. That's huge for people like Arcaner, who's now looking for a team, either in NA or EU. He doesn't really care. He'll move. He just wants a team. And Jay Shreet doing some he's going to do something. He hasn't said what, but he has said that he's working on his English. I'm hoping to see him go NA. He's in Brazil already. It'd be easy enough to just, you know, move NA, right? There's also some roster change rules that should help protect the players from things like what we saw happen with B-Step, where, like, B-Step didn't want to go away, but 3 members of B-Step left, and now all of a sudden, what do you do? If you're and APM retired, like, McIntyre's like, what? I'm holding the bag. Like, what do I do? So we have some show notes, some links to stuff in the show notes. Faye put some thoughts together on that, which I thought were actually well written. Faye really thinks through a lot of this stuff and had some good points to it. The thing that affected me the most, and I was the happiest to see, both DB Smiley and I said something last season when Open Cup happened, or not Open Cup, but like the Open Cup playoffs, where sorry, I get distracted by chat bags who's sending me an update. All right, so where the cups are much more important now. So you actually have to win the cups to be in a better position during playoffs. And that's important because we saw teams get through, and nothing against now Team Good Guys, but they got through after winning only 1 cup, and teams that won more than 1 cup were not able to get through because they lost, which they lost straight up to Team Good Guys. It is what it is, right? But the important thing here is the cups are now more important, which is good for Mystic and I because we usually cast these cups. So that's I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking all good changes on the rules. Bags was right. Jay Street has now said he's not going to do anything till after BlizzCon, which makes sense if you think about it, right? You wouldn't want to try and change at this point. BlizzCon is already set up. You already know what's going to happen. You just want to have a way to move after BlizzCon to get out of that minor region. Thank you, Bags. All right. Like I said, Phase 2 starting Friday, and it's going to be on the same patch as Mid Season Brawl, which kind of makes sense. None of the pro teams have had time to play on anything but the Mid Season Brawl patch. Well, none of the top pro teams have been able to play on anything but the Mid Season Brawl patch because they've been busy scrimming for Mid Season Brawl. I still think it's weird that the East teams aren't playing, like the top East teams that were in Mid Season Brawl are playing. But it turns out that Blizzard's going to do something special for their home fans. So we'll have to see what that is. Thank you, Steve, for getting back to me with that. Let's see. I'm not going to go through all the results. Suffice to say, check out the bracket play. Some of the best games we've ever seen. Like Fnatic series against Dignitas, both times. Not just once, but both times were just amazing. And then, Korea losing to EU was good. Roll20 again took a map off MVP, and that one was like really, really early in the morning. I think that was the 5:15 game, Sunday. eStar got knocked out twice, or got 3-0'd twice and got knocked out. Like, just lots of crazy, like, just bizarre things that weren't expected. Like Roll20, for the most part, dominated Tempo Storm, and I just didn't see that coming. I don't think anybody did, and it was fun to watch. But good, lots of good games came out of Mid-Season Brawl, and I'm sure we're gonna. I want to get through two last things, and there's lots to talk about. Right, I'm doing my news portion thing first. So EU Open Division's actually open. EU was this week, this past Monday, Tuesday. Bushido Esports decided to go and buy an entire Open Division team. Sponsor the Open Division team. Those guys raffle stomped their way through EU Open Division and won. Who Am I finished second. And NA Open Division starts Monday. Mystic and I should be casting that over on twitch.tv/LiqiudGG. So that should be good. I'm looking forward to some interesting competition. Everybody that was in it last season or last in phase 1 has been working and stepping up their game for phase 2. So, okay. A lot of esports news.
Is this EU's coming of age party? Is that what happened here?
That's an interesting question. So I think Bacon and I are going to talk a lot about that tonight, looking at our show notes. But I kind of feel like it almost is. If you look at some of the news we got out of Korea and some of the news we got out of China, it feels like the East divisions, if you will, and by that I mean China and Korea, are slowly pulling back from HOTS a little bit. So like we saw eStar basically said, yeah, we're done with this. We split our team up. They're all going to play man, now I'm losing the name of that team or the name of that game.
Doesn't matter. It's not Heroes of the Storm, right?
Yeah, you're right. Not Heroes of the Storm, right? It's a mobile game. It's a mobile MOBA. like really? But that's what they're going to play. So, I think it's a little of both. I think if you looked at what both Korean teams said, both L5 and MVP Black, they both said, we're just here to play our game. We didn't decide that we were going to, target ban or anything. And I think that's where you get that 22-0 Roll20 versus MVP Black game. Like MVP Black let Roll20 have what they wanted. And Roll20 was like, really? You're doing that? That's cool. Thanks. And they stomped them on freaking Tomb of the Spider Queen. Like 22 kills to 0. Like that's unheard of. An NA team just destroying a Korean team. Now the next game was not nearly that lopsided. But like who'd have thought going into this that NA was going to stomp Korea? And that EU, like Dignitas just crushed Korea both times they played. Now they were close games. They could have gone either way, but like Dignitas looked solid, and Fnatic was just like, it's cool, man. We're just gonna win this whole thing straight out. So, I mean, if it's not EU's coming of age party, it's as close as it's gonna get. I think, given where we are, I think the second clash. Because I think there's a clash. I'm like loading up the schedule right now. Yeah, the second clashes are going to be really cool. Like the Western clash is going to be crazy good because we're going to see, the top EU against the top NA and see if NA can hold their own this time. And then BlizzCon, dude, I'm like I can't wait to go to BlizzCon, man. Like you guys are going to have to like pull me out of that chair at the end of the night because I'm going to be like, no. This is my seat. I'm watching this.
We're bringing you along so you can save us seats, right? Because I know you're going to have front and center because you're going to sit there like overnight waiting for a spot.
I'll have your seats, man. I'll have your seats. We got to tell Lashes to just like embroider my name on one of the chairs.
So, Roz, what do you think of MSB? I know you watched quite a bit of it. Was there anything that struck you as being, say, better than any of the other esports we've seen so far this year?
I just love watching Fnatic and Dignitas so much. They've really impressed me this whole 10 days of pro Heroes esports, like what a dream. And they really, I couldn't have imagined a more epic final. And I was really impressed with Roll20. I was kind of disappointed that Tempo Storm didn't go any further, but I think Roll20 performed as I wanted them to. I didn't really expect them to go any farther than they did. I'm really proud of NA. Big props to all them, and big props to Fan. He did a great job casting all the games.
Agreed.
I
Everyone was
really
worried
enjoyed
he
all
was
the
going to be too
commentary.
reserved and everything, but he did a really good job.
No, he definitely pulled out. Like, that's one of the things we were hoping, that he would like come out of his shell and not be quiet Fan, and I think he delivered.
We're fans of Fan. Yeah. So, Mystic, are we going to see less people making fun of NA now that they've won a couple games against Korea?
I think that we'll see a little bit less of that, but there's going to be a lot more of, if I know League of Legends, right? There's going to be a lot of EU is better than NA, more than NA is better than Korea.
Yeah.
People will still find a way to dump on NA, I guess. No matter
Yeah. Unless we win the entire thing, then we get to gloat a little bit. But
BlizzCon, man, BlizzCon.
Yeah, BlizzCon.
The viewership numbers were nice too. I saw Reddit posting they got up to 60K at one point for the finals, I believe.
Yes,
that's pretty impressive.
It's like the third highest viewership on Twitch at the time, I think.
That's pretty impressive.
They hit number 1 once or twice too.
Oh, okay.
I can't wait.
Just based on when it was, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
I can't wait to see what the BlizzCon numbers are going to be like this year too. I feel like we're going to get a bit of a jump there because I think Heroes is starting to develop well as an esport as well. So
they need to add an extra day.
Yeah.
BlizzCon's just getting too packed.
Doesn't make any sense to me, especially if they end up having any more game announcements. Like, what are you going to do, right? Like, when are you going to stack all these things together?
Well, so that's the interesting thing. And so this plays into my plan, and I think we could probably segue into BlizzCon a little bit from here. But my plan is to just go straight to the Heroes Esports stage, get a good seat, right? And then they broadcast the opening ceremony to all the screens. So I don't have to be in Hall A or wherever the heck it is. I can be in HGC and be like, it's cool, what's up? And just good seats, ready to go, ready to watch and enjoy my games. See the opening announcement, which will more than likely be another WoW expansion because they're getting a little bit towards the end of Legion here. And yeah, enjoy some HGC games without having to move.
Yeah, I was listening to Realm Maintenance last week, and I think they mentioned there was some internal shuffling of staff to unknown projects, which always gets me excited as well. So I'm sitting here being like, maybe Warcraft 4 is around the corner or something along those lines. But I know everyone always kind of, I'm an old school Warcraft fan. I played the original in Warcraft 2 Orcs versus Humans, and I caught Warcraft 3 the end of university too. I missed the whole WoW side of things just because I was just coming out of university when that really kind of took hold. But still, my thoughts and nostalgia goes back to the original Warcraft series. So.
But so my
I know
raised
Grubby be on
eyebrow
my side too.
wasn't about Warcraft 4, but yes, they totally did a internal shuffling of resources. My eyebrow was, it's June. I don't feel like they're gonna shuffle resources for a product that they plan on announcing in November. I think it's
a year or two out.
That's BlizzCon next year, right?
Yeah, I'm not expecting anything ground shaking this year other than expansions, hero releases, etc. But still, it's going to be an exciting event no matter what. So also, Liqiud, you didn't mention, I think, didn't Blizzard and Twitch sign some sort of exclusivity agreement?
So Blizzard and Twitch did sign an exclusivity agreement for 3 years, if I remember correctly. Here's why that's important to us. That should mean, I'm hoping that Heroes of the Dorm next year will not be on Facebook. Please, God.
If nothing else,
I think
right?
they'll learn from their mistake.
Yeah.
But, other than that, right, everything else is already Twitch, right? Even the BlizzCon games are already streamed to Twitch. So, yeah.
When I read the announcement, that's pretty much the conclusion I drew from it too. I couldn't see anything really changing so much. I was like, well, maybe they'll have things down the road, like, you know, instead of having the Facebook streaming from the launcher, maybe we'll switch that to having Twitch streaming.
That would be cool, right?
That'd be pretty neat. You know, open up the Twitch streaming a little bit more to just not just Heroes, but other Blizzard games as well.
Right.
Because, yeah, as we know, because it took me like 45 minutes to set up the show today because I got some computer upgrades. Using OBS or any sort of streaming platform to get stuff onto Twitch is not easy and not user-friendly at all. So making it easier for the general public to get access to Twitch streaming is always helpful. Okay, so like I said, we don't have any patch notes to go over this week, so we drummed up some discussion topics. Things that we don't often get to do because we're often swamped for time just trying to get through the patch notes or the new heroes or whatever it is that dropped that week. So Roz sent me an article, and you might have seen it if you've been trolling around Reddit in the past couple days. There was a big discussion that was put in on Block as a talent. Now, this was posted by Math of the Storm is and on Heroes Hearth. So anyways, it's a great thing to check out. You can head over to our show notes and check it out, or head over to heroeshearth.com and you can check out the article there. But Roz, you want to tell us what they talk about regarding Block here in this article and what their analysis is?
Sure, yeah, and this article is from Chaos OS, and he's done a lot of stuff like this, and I know that the casters have been kind of talking about this on the HGC a lot lately about how Block is really the solo lane talent, and Chaos goes into a lot of detail, in fact, mathematical detail of breaking down why it is that way, and he goes in very detailed and gives the attack values, the attack speed values, stutter step values, and how that interacts with every single hero's block talent, and all the different variations of that. And really, kind of the TLDR of this is that yes, Block is the kind of the ultimate solo lane talent, and it gains more value obviously when you're going up against slow attack speed heroes. If you're up against a Leoric, you're going to have more of his auto attacks reduced by Block because he's just attacking so slowly. And he goes into all the cool math about that. And in fact, he gives a top 10 list of the heroes to take Block against when you're in the solo lane. Kind of the big one is Ragnaros and Thrall, and those guys who can enhance their auto attacks through Season Marksman or whatever. And you're just going to continually get more value out of your Block. Obviously, when you are in the 4-man, you don't need to be taking Block because a Lili can come in and get a reduced value Block to proc off, and then you get smacked by a Frostmourne Hungers and you lose all that value. So I love reading these kinds of things. I appreciate all the thought that people put into this kind of stuff, and I love spreadsheets too. So this is pretty cool. I definitely encourage people to check this out. Yeah,
for sure. Liqiud, or Mystic actually, do you take Block that often when you're laning? Like, when do you decide to take Block? What heroes do you typically take it on? Like, personally, I know obviously it's very comp dependent, like Roz is saying. It depends who's on the other team. Like, you may not take it against a Tracer, for instance, but what kind of situations do you see the Block really shining in?
Well, if they have a lot of auto attack heroes, I tend to take Block. Like, let's just say if you're facing like a Butcher, a Gray Main, something like that. If they don't have any super fast auto attack heroes, then I generally don't take it, even if their team might be a little bit auto attack heavy, because they just consume it almost instantly, right? And so, yeah. I think this article does a really good job of summing up when you want to take Block, because all those heroes listed there, like Rag, Thrall, Leoric, Alarak, all of those are generally good to pick up Block against because their auto attacks are pretty strong. So, it's really good to reduce a lot of that damage.
I've personally never really liked Block as a talent, and I rarely take it. I'm going to play the devil's advocate a little bit here and say, yeah, it might be great in the solo lane matchup, which, is important 5 minutes or so of the game, but I feel like it does definitely lose its value in the team fights later on, and you're giving up potentially very strong talents on those talent tiers that Block is on for that early game phase. Like, is it worth taking those early game to potentially lose out on, like, if you look at some other heroes, they might have, talents that increase their damage on the same tier, or something along those lines that would get more value in, say, a team fight scenario, right? Because like Ross was saying too, like, you might get a Li Ming toss an auto attack at you, and there you lost the value that you'd potentially get from block in those team fight scenarios.
Just to be clear, we're talking specifically like damage dealers, right? Because tanks, there's a good reason to have block on a tank. There's a good reason, like Mr. Skill says, to have block on Morales, depending on what you're queuing into. And there's not like a whole lot in a lot of cases on a warrior. I specifically on a tank warrior, a lot of times it makes sense to have block over some of the other tier 1 or tier 3 talents. But with assassins or like specialists, like just damage dealers, I could see that being the case. But then the question you have to ask yourself, Daz, is, well, am I going to be able to, can we snowball this if I can beat the solo laner consistently because I have block, right? Because if you can, then it's probably worth the trade.
My other problem with block is that so much damage is ability damage, even from your traditional auto attackers, like even your Valda.
Right.
So much of her damage comes out as ability damage. There's very rarely do you get like pure auto attacking heroes. Like even like you look at someone like Sonya, most of her damage is likely ability damage. I'd argue her W, I guess she does a lot of auto attack damage too, but her W does a significant portion of her damage as well. So like just looking at things like that, like, yeah, okay, maybe you take a little bit out of there. I can see maybe the argument for Morales because you're not getting attacked too much, and when you are, it's because people are focusing you down. Those extra couple, auto attacks right off the bat can definitely mitigate enough. But I don't know, it's always a talent I've shied away from, even when I played tanks. Like I know Joanna's got on level 1. I typically take something else, like even if it's Regeneration Master too, just because I feel like I will get typically more value out of those. That might just be my skill set showing here. But I don't realize I can tell you want to say something.
Well, what I wish that block was a little bit more interactive. Either I wish that the UI for it was a little clearer so that you could see it like on your character or something like that. But one parry or the one talent that I really like is reactive parry on Artanis, because you control when you get the block. I mean, yes and no, because you're kind of using it on cooldown or to get a burst, to reduce your trade or whatever. But at least there you have control over the pace of the solo lane with block. And some other heroes have that too. But I wish that there was a little bit more nuance to it. The author kind of argues against the point that some people brought up, that why don't you just give a passive physical armor buff instead of block, and he goes into that and how this is actually better because of the counterplays that you can come up with. I thought that was pretty interesting.
So I was looking at the same thing you were looking at there, Daz, because I heard your comment. I'm like, hold on a minute. Now I need to go look. So Regeneration Master for Johanna, because I actually take block most of the time on Johanna over other tanks, is about 10% less picked than Reinforced, which is the block talent, with similar win rates. But ETC, where I actually think you see a little more value out of it, because it gives block to the entire team, is picked the same amount as Progrok, with a slightly better win percentage. So I get what you're saying. I understand the point. I feel like from a tank, there's a lot of utility there, more so than on a different class.
Going to Roz's point, one thing I was just quickly looking up was the name of Chen's level 1 talent, Elusive Brawler. I love that talent specifically because it's block with a bit of a twist. It's more like a spell shield because you get it for a length of time as opposed to number of charges. And I feel like that's useful against your tracers, against your, fast auto attackers. You don't have to worry about even Lucio burning through your block charges, right? Because you have it for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And I take that a lot, especially, in auto attack comps, because block all auto attack damage, for however long the period of the elusive brawler is. And I like that active component to it. Whereas I do feel like Roz is saying, like, you can't really control when the block talents proc. It's almost in the hands of your enemies, and you'll get those tracers bleeding through your block charges, and you feel like it was kind of useless to have block in the first place, or your Li Ming's touching you, right? It's like the same thing when you have someone with spell shield and you got Malfurion. You moonfire them when you can to proc their spell shields. So hopefully they'll have it off cooldown when the big talents hit them.
So something that Shiz and I used to disagree with last season, we would go into a game and he'd be like, take block here. And I'm like, no, they have a tracer, they have a Tychus. Tychus used to drive me nuts because Tychus pops his D and you're like, well, my block was useless, thanks. Right? Like, so no, I agree. There are definitely, like, taking block into a tracer, into a Tychus, into a Leoric, or not a Leoric, a Lucio, or even a Diva, right? Like, that's useless. Like, you're just wasting your time and your talent. But taking a block into a Thrall, that's useful, right? So, yeah.
I guess my argument is it's not like you're playing a team of Thralls and Leorics. There's always going to be the one that you don't want to get hit by. And, I'm just playing the devil's advocate. There's definitely a place for block. I'm just trying to say the other end of it and the reasons that I typically don't go for it. I typically don't play tank too, so that's probably another reason that, like, maybe it's a talent that I don't value as much as I should. Maybe I should.
Yeah.
We did have some breaking news, actually, that Liqiud put in. I checked it. It hit about 10 minutes ago. Alebeard, again, good friend of the show, our crack research team, has put together an article for creators of the Storm. He writes over at blizzpro.com, so you can go over there, check it out, go into the Heroes of the Storm section, and he's got a nice little write-up on the tournament that we're going to be putting on, and coincidentally enough, he's also taking part in. So you'll be able to see Alebeard play with the Gankbush squad. We're going to be playing him in game 1, so looking forward to smoking him right off the bat there. But thanks, Alebeard, for putting out that article, and everyone should go check it out. BlizzCon tickets available. What? When did this happen?
Yes. All right. So that's why I put that in there. I meant to tell you about it earlier. July 5th, Blizzard's going to release a third round of tickets. So I guess people that went to BlizzCon last year noticed that they were adding another hall to the Anaheim Convention Center. It's done. Blizzard has access to it. They're releasing another batch of tickets on July 5th. So if you still need a ticket, July 5th is your time to buy it.
We don't need it bigger. We need it longer, right? Like everyone's saying too. Add the extra, make it a week or 2 weeks long. Jeez. But still, it's great because I know some people didn't get a chance to get the tickets. They were hard to get a hold of. So this gives a chance for some more people, even a little closer to the date, because people to know if they're going to have conflicts and such with the dates. Right. But I'm just glad we got our Airbnb booked. We don't have to worry about hotels or anything booking up with this new swath of tickets coming out. So we also want to talk today, next discussion topic, about the heroes that we all thought are underrated in the game. So we've all gone through, we've picked who we think are the most underrated heroes in the game. We're going to talk about them. So why don't we start with our guest, Roz. Who do you think is one of the most underrated heroes in the game?
And why?
Yeah, well, we'll obviously chat about it.
For me, it's Karazim. My all-time favorite healer, highest win rate. In fact, my team, it's like we're a Karazim specialist team. We've got 3 different people that have like a 60% plus win rate on Karazim, and so it like stabbed me in the heart when Dredd said that Karazim was a tier 3 hero this past week. But he's definitely popular in Korea, and they see him as a top pick every time. He definitely has his niche places, but when he fits in that place, he's very, very strong. I think people underestimate just this sheer amount of damage that he can put out, and he actually can put out more healing than any of the others, depending on how you play and how your team moves, and if you communicate well. He's definitely one of the harder to play healers. It takes a lot of positional awareness. You have to be diving all over the place and being have the wherewithal to get out when you need to. His power spike is definitely at 16. You don't really need to go too hard to the paint in the early game with him. You need to kind of be patient, and if you've got him on a team with Nazebo, who also has a power spike at 16, that's kind of when you can turn on the burners, and especially if you take Way of 100 Fists, you can burn down anybody. So I encourage people to give another look at the old monk. He's a lot more complex than people give him credit for.
I mean, Korea loves him.
Oh yeah.
So what you're saying is when our cheerleague team plays your cheerleague team, we're supposed to ban Karazim because all of you play him.
Do not let him on Sylvanas. Ignore the Karazim.
We're gonna have a
not
chat
let him
about
on
that.
Sylvanas. That's more important, Dad.
Okay, maybe I'll have to look at the mid ban for Karazim then too.
Yeah.
Okay, Liqiud, who's your most underrated hero?
So mine is Hammer. I think. So I go back to like Korea and China. There are a number of teams in Korea and China that have successfully used Hammer on a couple of different maps, like Battlefield of Eternity, even Infernal Shrines, things like that. But it seems to be very like it's almost never picked ever. And a lot of that is your team has to know how to play around you, right? Like I totally get it. But yeah, I just feel like people don't respect Hammer at all. Granted, if you can lock Hammer down, you can kill Hammer. So I get it, but and that's true. Ogre 22, you're right. Fnatic does pull her out at times, but yeah, Sergeant Hammer, I think deserves more rating, less underrating.
Yes. I don't think people respect enough. You don't have to go siege mode all the time.
Right.
Move around and stutter step, and her basic auto attacks are really, really strong.
Right, and that's what you see more out of like Korea, right? You definitely will see them stutter stepping with her, which blew my mind the first time I saw it. The first time I saw Hammer stutter stepping and Karazim stutter stepping, I thought I was like just imagining things on the stream. But yeah, it's I feel like she's got a place that is just not as high as she should be.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Mystic?
Before that, I had a question about Hammer. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about this. I don't know if anybody can answer it. But so we all know that when Hammer's in siege mode, right, she does roughly the same amount of damage unless they're further away, right? So that's her passive. Well, that's her passive. Yeah. She does more damage to distant enemies, right?
But so it goes higher. She gets the graduating range as the talent, where it goes further out.
Level 1, doesn't she also have a talent the further they are away? She gets like a 10% bonus, I think, something along those lines.
I believe the only benefit you gain from siege mode is that it splashes.
Yeah, no, her trait is basic attacks deal 30% more damage to distant enemies. So Mystic has that right. And then the talent on 1 increases the bonus to enemies by 10%. So instead of 30%, she gets 40%. So that's what it is. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. That basically answers my question. I was kind of wondering, like, also, if you to distant enemies, does that just mean like further than your auto attack range, or
no? It's just like the further away they are, the higher the damage gets.
So does that mean when you auto attack them and you run backwards, does it increase the damage?
That's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question. And to answer the other question, because there's chat's kind of talking about it a little bit too. So her basic trait is 30%. There's a talent that brings it up to 40%. Then when she goes into siege mode, her range is increased by 90% and deals 20% splash damage and 30% bonus damage to minions and structures. That's where she's really strong, right? That 30% in the splash damage, 25% splash damage, shrines, BOE, things like that, like she's got a lot of value.
Yeah, she's fairly balanced too, because she does have her deficiencies. The fact that it takes her so long to get out of siege mode unless you use your boosters, that does make her vulnerable to your Nazebo zombie walls or any sort of stun attacks, or your chromies or Li-Mings and such too. So there's enough counterplay to Hammer to make sure that she can't just run away with the game. Okay, so Mystic, who's your most underrated hero?
most underrated hero for me, I might be biased a little bit because I like the character a lot, but is Lunara. I really like Lunara because she deals a lot of damage. I mean, like a lot of it is poison, and it's not like a ton of auto attack, but yeah, the poison damage just stacks up really high. She has the extra mobility inside of combat because everybody, while they're fighting, usually they don't have their mount. So she moves like faster than mount speed, or slightly slower than mount speed, but she's faster than normal speed. So she has that extra mobility in combat, and out of combat, she's a little bit weaker because she doesn't have that mount speed, like I said. But yeah, she's really fast, hard to catch, and she does a surprisingly high amount of burst damage with a leaping strike.
I have to admit, I was sitting here thinking, how can she be underrated? I felt like I saw her a lot at Mid Season Brawl, but then I went over to Master League to play with the data a little bit. Turns out she only played in 10 matches. But of those 10, she won 7 of them. So, yeah. Mystic Strike.
Underrated.
Underrated.
Good call. He's on to something.
Good call.
It seemed like they would kind of just fit her into a Protect the Valla comp a lot of times.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess the other thing about Lunara, too, not only does she have that higher movement speed, but she's got the slow in her kit. Right?
Yeah.
So that, like, making everyone else move slower effectively makes you and your whole team move a little bit faster as well. So it's kind of like reverse Lucio. I mean, it's not all the time, but still an interesting little interaction there that can help out. And my most underrated hero, and again, I think bias kind of filters into these because I enjoy playing her so much, is Tyrande. I know since her rework, a lot of people have been kind of poo-pooing on her strength as a hero, but the fact that you compare her with most other healers, especially ones with a stun like an Uther, and you can, I mean, I was playing some Toronto where, like, the other week with Mystic, and he was playing Uther. People just can't get away. You stun, Lunara stuns, if you got Benediction, you get another stun, Divine Storm, that kills anybody if you got any sort of focus. The fact that she can stun from range there, get a lot of damage done, she has a pretty quick heal as long as you're auto-attacking. So if you're stutter stepping, like as you're running away from an enemy, you can actually solo versus most enemies. Like I remember soloing versus a Kerrigan and 1v1ing her fairly successfully too, and I was pretty impressed that Lunara could do that. You couldn't say that about old Lunara. Not to mention, sorry, not old Lunara, old Tyrande. And she's also very powerful in something like Battlefield of Eternity as well. And she always has been. That's been kind of her map because she can put her D on the Immortal and help everyone burn the Immortal down pretty fast. Not to mention she can get a lot of auto attack damage out and decent healing numbers as well. So if you're looking for a healer with a kind of damage utility heals role, kind of similar to maybe a Karazim, nudge Roz, I think Tyrande can fill that role fairly nicely, and there's nothing wrong with having an extra stun in the kit. So I
think, excuse me, I think specifically about Tyrande, it'll be interesting to see what happens in 2-ish weeks when HCC's played on this patch that we're on now, where she got her rework, because I don't think that was it. That was with the Malitheo patch, wasn't it?
No, she got a rework a while ago.
Did she? Oh, then the Pros Hater
patch.
Yeah, I think it was
Pros Hater, man. Sorry.
Yeah, well, underrated to me. I feel like I can't wait till she gets a bit of a buff, because I feel like that's probably going to be incoming, and that'll make it even more fun to play if she's a little bit stronger. Okay, so we talked about underrated heroes. Now let's move over to overrated heroes. Roz, do you have any heroes that you think are overrated in this game?
I couldn't really come up with any, and I saved it because I wanted to argue with Liqiud over his pick.
So that's a perfect segue, because Liqiud, what is yours happen to be?
So honestly, I got to drop some truth here. I actually don't think there's any overrated heroes, but I knew that one would drive Roz nuts, so I baited. And it worked. So what's up? No, I honestly, I don't think she's overrated. I think she's in a good spot. I know if you're playing Rozai's team, like, just boom, ban her out. They will do some nasty things to you if you don't. And I think, like, we saw some similar stuff at Mid Season Brawl, especially during the we're gonna have a race comp, and just try to race. Yeah, right. Like she just wrecked that game. She won 4 out of 7 matches at Mid Season Brawl. And that's not the best example of this means the hero is good or not, right? I mean, in the hands of a pro, Murky looks good. We saw that at BlizzCon 2 years ago. But I guess the point I was trying to make was she's balanced where she is, and I just wanted to troll Rozai a little bit.
Well, I think that she's both. Like, it's weird. I think she's overrated and underrated because I think she's misunderstood and she's used for the wrong reasons. People only associate her with this heavy all-in push, and that's all she's good for. She's only good on Battlefield and only good on Infernal Shrines, where you have this boss push to go with you.
Right.
But I take her for lots of other different reasons. She had Li Ming's trait long before Li Ming was in the game. Her withering arrow, as a default, you get a hero kill, you get 3 more charges of that, and you can just keep going on the offense and be really aggressive. And I think people get really nervous with Sylvanas because I don't have any control over where my withering fire goes, but you actually do if you're smart with your positioning, because it targets the nearest hero. So if you understand the micro game with her, and if you take Lost Soul at level 4, then you're going to be doing a lot of damage. And and my thing with Lost Soul is imagine a world where Living Bomb was invisible and you couldn't see it. and people don't know how to move around it, especially in the leagues that my team plays in, Diamond, Plat, and Gold. Like, people don't necessarily move around the dagger very, very well. And
they spread it forever.
Oh yeah, and especially even if you're on the defense, like on Battlefield of Eternity, and you're behind the wall, you toss it on the Immortal, and they're all hunkered behind it. They don't see it, and then you're able to whittle down this offensive Immortal very, very quickly, and they don't get any value out of it. Yeah. It's kind of like the same reason why Tychus's trait is so deceptively strong, because you can't see it when it's actually happening. There's no visual component to it. I mean, you can see the dagger, but the spread range is actually really, really long, and you don't usually have a lot of control over it.
Well, and like somewhere I think she's undervalued right now is Hanamura, right? Especially we talked about 2 weeks ago, I think, Cavalier Guest's strategy of just push a lane. Like, she makes that so much easier. Even if you put her on the solo lane, right? She can solo lane in 1v1 a decent number of heroes. And if you put her in the solo lane, one of 2 things is going to happen. The 4 people are going to come down to stop your push, and now she's going to push in anyway, or they're not, and she's just going to do what she can to disable the minions that are coming in at her gate while you take a fort and potentially a keep. So I don't really think she's overrated, except for on a few key maps. Like, God, I've lost count of the number of times you get on Battlefield of Eternity and everybody's like, "Oh God, ban Sylvanas." It's like, dude, she's not that. Like, no, come on.
Yeah, we'll get in the drafts, and they'll bring up, "Hey, should we ban Sylvanas?" And us, as we understand Sylvanas, I don't care. Let's let her through. There's bigger, more important threats to worry about.
Right.
Haunted Mines, Sylvanas, freaking Mercenary Queen. Oh, those sappers.
They can do a lot of damage with the Sylvanas behind her back.
Yeah.
The one thing about Sylvanas too that always surprised me our team talks about it a lot when we're like, oh, she takes Sylvanas here, and then someone might say, well, we don't want to lose out on the damage, and I always think that Sylvanas isn't necessarily a compromise in damage. Again, you can play
Absolutely
her
not.
in a way that she can top damage. I've seen her top damage in many games, especially I can't remember what level. I think it's level 16 where she gets Windrunner. I'm sure Roz knows her talent tree pretty well. I love that talent to basically get 3 full quivers of quivering arrow, or whatever her arrow talent is called, her Q, and you can teleport around the map. You can do a lot of damage, and you can get out too. So I think she's got a lot of potential burst capability with that, and can contribute. She's got some decent auto attack capabilities as well as her Q. So, okay, Mystic, who do you think's one of the more overrated heroes in the game?
I think Zul is a pretty overrated hero, because when you think of Zul, what do you think of? You think of wave clear, right? Double lane soak, right? All that stuff. I think he's overrated in that aspect because people pick him like that, but then there's all these other heroes that can do almost the exact same thing except better. Zool, he clears lane. Probius can do the exact same thing, and plus Probius provides a little bit more teamfight presence, and then zone control as well, where Zool's zone control is limited to either if he uses his Poison Nova, in which case people run away for a good 2 seconds or something, just not get hit by the poison, or he puts down all the skeleton mages, where if there's a lot of AoE, they just get blown up like really easily. Yeah, so he's not that strong in team fights either, where a lot of other potential wave clear heroes could put more in, like I was saying, Probius or even Kael'thas, who's pretty good at wave clear as well, or almost as good as wave clear, and then he provides a much larger team fight presence.
I think it's easy to bully him out.
Kael'thas
Sorry.
or Zool?
Go ahead. Zool. I think
Yeah.
it's easy to gank him, and he doesn't really have a lot of survivability. That shield will get you a little bit, but he's so easy to bully out.
I actually almost put Probius as my underrated because I feel like he doesn't get nearly as much love as he deserves. But I do agree that Zool is, after listening to Mystic, I agree Zool is probably overrated.
Do you
I think
think
he's due for a rework.
Yeah, he's like his thing
get a little
was,
old and crusty?
hey, I wave clear. His thing was, I wave clear a bunch, but then you look at like the siege damage and stuff after, and it's like a lot of people just do his job much better.
Well, is he still the top pick for dual soaking the top 2 lanes in Blackheart's Bay, or has that been usurped by someone like Probius? We always take Probius in that role when we can for our chair league team.
That's a good question. I'm gonna go check while we go over your overrated hero, Daz.
Okay. My overrated hero, and this might just be people adjusting still to the meta of a couple months ago, is Ragnaros. And I feel like he is quickly becoming weaker and weaker, and after being the target of many nerfs, and I still see him banned somewhat frequently on many maps. I feel like his survivability has just come down too low, and his damage isn't as high as it used to be. It's pretty, I mean, his Sulfurous Smash is his ultimate there is great if you can land it, but still outside of that, he doesn't feel as impactful as he used to. Like, I remember the Ragnaros of old, where you'd go in and he'd just start slamming his Sulfurous Hungers, or whatever it's called, over and over again, his Q, keeping his healing up, and no one could kill him. But now, like, if you see Ragnaros engaged, you know he's an easy kill, generally speaking, and people still do tend to take him or ban him out in drafts, at least the ones that I've seen. So I think Ragnaros is not looking so much like a Fire Lord anymore, more like thinks that fire is slowly dwindling. What do you guys think about Rag?
I mean, his ankles have been chipped away so that he has no more ankles. We were talking about that a couple of weeks back.
Yep.
Yeah, but you know what, though? I'd say it was harder to find overrated heroes rather than underrated heroes. Like Roz said, he couldn't even think of one. And I mean, I was like, I don't think Ragnaros, to be honest, is that overrated. I think most people have kind of seen the place that he's supposed to be sitting in now. I think just one more what I was getting at is I think there's sometimes a bit of a meta lag in people's minds. People don't read the patch notes. You know, they're still, you know, top picking, say, Malfurion as a healer. I mean, Malfurion's got his place and he's pretty good, but I don't think he's necessarily first pick for his ban material anymore. But I think that just speaks to the fact that the game is pretty balanced in general, and you can find underrated heroes because those ones that people don't play a lot, that, you know, if you get really good at, like a Karazim or a Tyrande, maybe you can really succeed in those roles. But in terms of overrated heroes, I think it's a little bit harder to find because, you know, we've got things like hot slogs which tell us those heroes that have really high win rates, like your Malthaels and your Anubaraks and your Samuros, I guess, and everyone's kind of aware of those. So interesting place for the game to be.
So just to answer your previous question, Zool is still the king of Blackheart's Bay.
Oh.
With like 1,800 more games in the last however long, 7 days, I think, on Blackheart's Bay than Probius.
Yeah, I think he's pretty. I mean, how do the win rates shake out there too? Is he higher win rate on the map?
52.2% for Zool compared to a.
It doesn't strike me as that high. I guess it depends on what his baseline win rate is, but
Probius has a 61.4, so
Overrated.
Overrated, exactly.
If I have the Zool in the double soak in the top, I almost always try to have a global to go and help him when he like either a Falset or Dahaka when he, cries wolf and somebody's coming to gank him, that way you can compensate for, him being so isolated the whole time.
So Mystic, we haven't done your shakedown in a while, bud. You ready to do a shakedown for us today?
Oh, I'm ready.
Mystic, I require service of you. I come to you as a friend, asking you to shake down this situation.
And that's where we stop it. Oh my god. My computer's going crazy. Shake down the situation for us. There we go. Good thing that was our last bumper for a while, because my program just crashed there. Good old technical difficulties. But anyhow, Mystic, why don't you shake down the situation for me?
All right. So this week, I'm going to be talking about utilizing map information. So I don't know if there are any studies done in the Heroes of the Storm area, but in League of Legends, there was a study of, how much do pros actually look at their minimap, to like get information, to gauge people's positions and whatnot. And it came up to generally every 3 seconds. So they'd be doing their thing and they glance down like every 3 seconds. So that's a good, I think, margin for if you're trying to keep up with the information that changes on the map at like any given time. So every 3 seconds is pretty good to keep there, keep looking at the minimap.
Don't they have some sort of like tool that someone made for like League of Legends way back when that like bings or like makes some sort of audio cue for that you're supposed to like look down at your minimap every few seconds? Have you heard about that?
I think there are a lot of tools that just like, they're kind of almost like apps that came up, and they're just like, hey, it'll make a noise every time you want to look at your minimap. So you'd be playing and then it'd make a noise, you look down at your minimap, and then you look back at the game, and it just became habit. And then they took away the tool, and then it's the habit's still there, right? So keep up with that information. And then my next bit, just looking at your minimap every 3 seconds, if you don't get any information out of it, is completely useless. So like looking at the minimap is not enough. Just because you look at it and then you look back at your game doesn't do anything if you don't get anything from it, right? It's like looking behind you when you're trying to change lanes. If you look behind you but you don't register what's actually behind you and you change lanes anyway just because you make the motion or something, doesn't actually do anything. So when you look at the minimap, make note of what heroes you see in which lane. So for example, like if you're the solo lane in top lane, you're playing Thrall, you're up against let's just say Zagar or something, right? And then you're pushing her back a little bit, and you look at your minimap and you see that Nova's not on the map or Valera's not on the map. Then you might want to back up a couple of steps so you don't get ganked by her. However, if you know that you can totally body this guy in top lane, but you're afraid of a gank, and you look at your minimap, but you see that Valera is ganking one of your unfortunate teammates bottom that is trying to run away, then you got the green light to go just full on aggressive mode on this person in top lane, because you're not afraid of that Valera gank. She's bottom. She's not going to just instantly teleport top for whatever reason, right? Unless they have like medevac or something. But yeah, so you have that. Just remember those things. And then map objective information is in the bottom right. So I'm sure a lot of people may know this, but I know some people that don't. Like, for example, on Tomb of the Spire Queen, right? You can see how many gems that you turned in at the bottom right. Yeah, a lot of people know that. However, I know that some people don't know that in the bottom right of the bottom right, like lower on in your team's gems, you can actually see how many gems your team is holding. So you don't have to, well, you do have to do a little bit of math, right? If your team is holding 53 gems and you have like 25 or something, and it only costs what, like 55 to turn it, you probably know that you have enough gems instead of like
you can't expect me to count.
I mean, if you're holding triple digits and the turn-ins in double, you're probably okay.
Sometimes,
yeah, you don't have to like tab and count. Like, okay, he has 5, he has 23. he has like 6 and he has 9. Okay, how many is that? You know, you don't have to do it. The game has done it for you. It's in the bottom right. All right. And by the same token, you can also see how many gems that your opponent has. So it has that number. So if it's above how many they need to turn in, you could probably think, hey, they're probably trying to turn in. Maybe I'll goaltend, you know, try to prevent them from turning in while our team is still trying to collect gems to catch up or something, right? And same goes for like Infernal Shrines. You can see how many duders in the bottom that your team has killed, or you know, the enemy team has killed. Like if they've killed 39 and they back off for whatever reason, you have 2. You probably don't want to contest the objective because they could throw any skill shot in there and just instantly get the Punisher, right? Just like weigh your options there. You don't have to always go for the map objective if you know it's already gone. Next, we have, this may seem kind of simplistic, but the enemy team only has 5 heroes usually, unless they have like Lost Vikings or something, right? So if you're playing a push hero, like let's just say Nazebo, your bottom lane, and you look on your mini map every 3 seconds, you see that they have 5 heroes top lane. You need to back away unless they're taking your. But if you're pushing and they have like 5 people pushing your outer keep or outer fort, and you're pushing their keep, you probably don't want to back away because no one's gonna gank you unless those globals are fine.
Mystic, I think your mic just went AWOL.
Yeah, it went from being able to hear you to me wondering if something went wrong, if it was just on my end. Well, Mystic, why don't we, Liqiud, do you want to try and take away the last
I can.
couple points
think I
for
can
him?
cover this. I think I can cover where he was going with that. So what he was trying to say was, if you're in the bottom lane pushing and you see 5 heroes in the top lane, you're okay to keep pushing. But if you're in the bottom lane pushing and you see 2 heroes on the minimap, it's time to back out because you're gonna die. Is it working now? Are you back?
Hello,
Yes,
test.
he is.
You're good.
Okay,
Very
am
good.
I here? Am I back? That's exactly where I was going with it, Liqiud. Thank you. All right, yeah, that's basically what I was gonna say. And then lastly, keep the state of the map in mind. So if you have everybody on your team, let's just say they're looking for the enemies, they're all spread out on the map. Let's just say you cover, let's just imagine a clock, all right? So your team is covering about from 12 o'clock to like 9 o'clock, right? Where could the enemy team be? Probably, if they're not in any of those quadrants of the map, they're probably in the last quadrant of the map somewhere. So if you keep the state of the map in mind, you can generally tell where your enemies are, even though you don't exactly see them in Fog of War. If your team covers, or if your team and or minions are covering certain parts of the map with vision and you don't see them there, then they're probably in the Fog of War somewhere. So it's like process of elimination. You can tell where the people are.
One point I want to rewind to a few points ago where you mentioned that the map objective information's in the bottom. One that saves me doing the extra math, and I wish they kind of did this in Tomb of the Spider Queen, because even though it is simple math to, you know, to add up to 50 or whatever, on Garden of Terror, the little bud, like the little flower that shows you how many seeds you have next to it, it'll actually be open if you can still get a Garden Terror. If it's closed, it's physically impossible for you on that night round to still get a Garden Terror. So that's always good for me. Now that I realized that, I can't remember when I found that out, maybe a few months ago, you see, like, you know, maybe like the top Terror is still available to get for seeds, or maybe like a small camp is. You can be like, okay, we can't get a Terror from it anyways, maybe it's not worth fighting over it, and you can know from that. Just like,
hey, I want to raise you. Yes, that's true. But if you can deny the terror from the other team, you should do so.
That's true. And you can also see their bud opened or closed. So that's
right.
Another thing you can get from that information as well. It'd be nice if the gem could like glow or something if you had turn in. That'd be cool. And that I think would be a very helpful bit. Because, you know, you sit there sometimes, you're like, okay, we've got 14, we've got 35 on hand. Does that add up past 50? You know, you got to think for a second. If you're in the middle of a team fight or you're doing stuff, last thing you want to do is what should be simple math. But my old man Swiss cheese brain usually requires a calculator to make sure that my simple math even comes out correctly. Anyways, Roz, you got something you wanted to add?
Well, one of the things that my team has been working on lately is not just looking at the mini map, but imagining what does our opponent see on the mini map. If they were to look at it, where would they see us? Are we showing? And it's really important, especially for solo laners, of what kind of information are you providing to your opponent? Are you near a minion wave? Are you in tower range? When was the last time an enemy saw you? Trying to minimize the amount of information that we give to our opponents has really helped us, avoid those ganks in the solo lane, so that we aren't 4v5 at the next objective on Cursed Hollow.
Yeah. I agree, and I want to say two comments to that. One, I lost count of the times at Mid Season Brawl where we had casters saying, look at them manipulating the map, and that was both what information they were allowing the opponents to see and taking advantage of the information they could see, right? So as a team, you could see certain people on the map and you were denying other information to the opponent, right? So that's like, even pros are doing that same thing. And the other thing I come back to, and this is bagging on Mystic just a little bit. We were in a game one time, and we were down, and Shiz was like, no, we have to do this. And on Infernal Shrines, there's that like little extra lane down along the two outsides, right, where nothing ever goes down there. It's like just an extra kind of side lane. No minions go down it. It's just there. It's like a hiding spot. We went down that lane, so the enemy didn't know we were there. We waited till they passed us. They were attacking our keep wall, and then we wiped them. 5-man, just straight up, boom, you guys are all dead. But we were able to accomplish that because we denied them information about where we were on the map. And for the rest of the game, their tank like feared every bush in that map. Like, no joke. So, but it was funny because Mystic's like, can we go? And she's like, nope, wait, now. And we just like, boom, they were dead like 3 seconds later. So denying information is almost as important as paying attention to the information that is on the minimap. And
to add on to that as well, giving information that you are intentionally giving to misinform the other team can be useful as well. A couple situations where that is handy is typically when there's a boss. If you show on the minimap, you accidentally ran through the site on your way up to the boss, it's a good opportunity potentially to set up a bush party gank and wait for them to come. You don't actually start the boss, and then you ambush the team as they're coming to check it, or that lone hero that decides to face check the bush.
I'm going to face check the bush. Are they in here? Oh, shit, I'm dead.
And one strategy we often employ as well, too, is if 3 heroes are starting the boss, make sure the other 2 are visible on the minimap. Because if you see a couple heroes on the minimap, like in lane or whatever, typically you don't expect the rest of them to be on the boss. So that's a good way to give misinformation, I guess, and distract them from what your true goal is at that time. Cool. Well, guys, I think that's a wrap. We're not going to have any sign-off music because, well, you heard what happened a little while ago to my bumper. Windows decided to crash the program on me. I can't start it up again. Who knows what's happening there. But I do have some little housekeeping notes. Thank you all for listening to the Nexus Trolls, Heroes of the Storm podcast. We stream this live on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/trollsgg, every week on Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. So, Roz, thanks for guesting. Where can people find you online if they're looking for you?
I'm on Twitter at Rozai, Lote, Lords of the Exodar. We also have our YouTube channel, which is just search Lords of the Exodar. Every so often I do some freelance writing for various gaming websites, doing guides and whatnot. Taking a break right now to focus on work things, but I'll probably get back into that soon, and looking forward to get back into that. So.
Cool. How about you, Liqiud? Where can people find you?
I have a lot this week, man. All right, so let's see. Here, obviously, Troll and HCC, the show that I do with Bags immediately not immediately after we start at 9:30 here on Trolls GG. Bags is actually out the next 3 weeks, so Bacon's in tonight. We'll see what I do for the next 2 weeks after that. We're doing Creators of the Storm this weekend, so obviously I'll be streaming that here at Trolls GG. And Mystic and I, in theory, will be casting Open Division on Monday. I'll definitely be casting Open Division on twitch.tv/LiqiudGG. That's LIQIUDGG on Monday. I'm just not sure if Mystic will be joining me or not. But your best bet is just follow me on Twitter at LiqiudGG. That's LIQIUDGG again. I tweet whenever I'm going live. I tweet whenever stuff's coming up. I tweet lots of esports stuff. Like, follow me on Twitter. That's the best spot.
Mystic, have you tweeted more than 5 times yet?
I mean, I tweeted once at the beginning of the show, so I have 6.
I was just going to check.
So if you want a very infrequent tweeter, you can follow Mystic at Mystic Shroud on Twitter. And if you're looking for me, you can find me at DazHots. That's at Daz HOTS. So thanks everyone for supporting the show. If you support us on Patreon, if you like the show and you're looking for a way to support us, you can do so over at patreon.com/trollsgg. In doing so, you're also supporting Trolling HGC, which is going to be coming on pretty shortly after this show if you're watching live. And Trolling HGC can also find on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, all the usual spots as well. And it turns out you can find us there as well on iTunes, Google Play, Stitchers, or wherever you happen to find your podcasts online. You can also visit our website, trollsgg/TheNexusTrolls, to watch this and past shows, along with video streams, which can also be found in our YouTube channel. And just like Roz's channel, you'll probably want to Google it because YouTube is not friendly to people with less than 100 subscribers for friendly YouTube channel URLs. For announcements about the show and general Heroes of the Storm news, you can follow us on Twitter at TheNexusTrolls. If you want to hang out with us in the Trolls community in-game, /join TrollsGG in-game. So we'd love to expand that work. If you listen to the show, about a month ago, we were promoting to /join the Nexus Trolls, but we're deprecating that in favor of Trolls GG, so we can get our show as well as Trolling HGC's fans in the same place. And finally, if you need to get in touch with us, you can always email us at TheNexusTrolls@TrollsGG. And again, this is where I'd usually cue the outro music, but unfortunately, Windows isn't being happy with me today. Yeah. TNT. Yeah. Well, Roz, you're a band director. We should have gotten you to play something for us, right? Anyways, everybody, thanks for watching. Roz, thanks so much for joining us. We'd love to have you on again, and we're going to be seeing you this weekend in the Creators of the Storm tournament. Everyone check that out. Again, twitch.tv/Haloran or creatorsofthestorm.com. That starts at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's going to be a great little tournament. Other than that, everybody, thanks again for watching. Have a great week.